As this Zero Hedge article says, 2 out of 3 of American CFOs are predicting a recession by the summer of 2020. And as the article goes into, while 2/3 of American CFOs see the storm clouds gathering of another recession within the next 18 months, almost 87% say the recession will strike by the first quarter of 2021. And this is a kind of sentiment that we're seeing a lot lately, especially with the yield curve inverting the 10-year and the 3-month. Just so ridiculous. Always signatory of a recession on the horizon. But anyway, as it continues, it says, even though the timing is off, one thing is clear. American CFOs are warning the public to prepare for another recession. According to the latest Duke CFO Global Business Outlook survey released Wednesday, 67% of those surveyed predicted the U.S. economy would be in recession by the third quarter of 2020, and 84% believe a recession will have begun by the first quarter of 2021. The survey generated responses from more than 1,500 chief financial officers, including 469 from North America, and additionally showed that 38% of respondents predicted a recession by the first quarter of next year. John Graham, finance professor, the Fuqua School of Business at Duke University, I don't know how to pronounce that, and director of the survey, told MarketWatch that while CFOs are not quite as pessimistic as they were 3 months ago, it is unusual in the history of the survey for such a large share of respondents to predict a recession just 16 months from now. And I quote, "The recession predictions are closer than usual, with a greater magnitude of respondents indicating recession fears of an economic meltdown," Graham said. Last quarter's survey showed a greater degree of pessimism, with nearly half of respondents predicting a recession by the end of 2019. But that's to be expected as consumer confidence rose slightly. Graham also said that there is a very clear trend of deteriorating optimism among American CFOs as the share of executives surveyed who have grown more optimistic about the U.S. economy has fallen from 53.3% a year ago to 24.1% today. And their pessimism surrounding the economy is well-deserved. We are in a credit bubble, the likes of which the world has never seen. One wrong move, one small ripple could make a massive tsunami that could quickly spiral out of control, impoverishing millions, if not billions, around the globe. Consider beginning to prepare now for what so many people already know is inevitable. The prepper's blueprint will walk even the beginner through how to prepare for any situation that arises. Financial preparation is easy enough, but it's difficult at the same time. Paying off your debts is the best way to survive and even thrive during an economy that's melting down around you, especially since the globe is in a debt bubble of apocalyptic proportions. And I quote, "If we have learned one thing studying the history of disasters, it is this: those who are prepared to have a better chance at survival than those who are not." Tess Pennington, the Prepper's Blueprint. Let's also look into this article quickly. 60% of millennials don't have $500 in savings ahead of the next recession. And this is such a huge cloud that's looming over us. I mean, as we've mentioned, the yield curve data shows very clearly, as it always has before, that a recession is on the horizon, and we see that coming very close, and we see that in other countries as well, as Canada with a 10-year inverting with the 1 month, which is different from the U.S.'s 10-year with the 3-month. But it's all signatory of the same thing, and this is a global issue more than anything, with a everything bubble worldwide. And we see the stock market bubbled up so much. They say that optimism changed a bit in the first 3 months of 2019. Yeah, because everyone just gets brainwashed and indoctrinated into thinking everything's going to be fine if everything looks fine for the time being. There's a tornado coming, but the sky's blue right now. We know the tornado's coming, but let's just focus on the blue sky and let's not prepare. And it's just so ridiculous, and it just shows the mental gymnastics people go over to confirm their own bias. Of course, People will say we've been talking about this forever, and we have, because we've been right forever, and we've been right leading into 2007, 2008, and then that was pushed off, and the banks are still bankrupt and insolvent, and the bubble is even worse today, and it'll come down even harder today because of it. The economy has to walk off a cliff soon. China and India are set to surpass the United States empire in the coming years, and we know what happens with the Chinese technocratic superstate cashless society, centrally planned, that is, as a world currency rising in the next decade or two. But the point is, we see all the telltale signs of a massive recession on the horizon, and it's going to be worse than just a recession. It's going to be a crash the likes of the world has never seen before, considering we have not just all the CFOs saying this is going to happen in the next couple of years, but on top of that, we have all the data that's adding up from years of being perpetuated and pushed off from the past recessions and crashes of the past, bubble bursts of the past, and then repeating the same things that have been done in the past on crack, and then the Federal Reserve propping up stock markets artificially, their $0 desk on Wall Street, their plunge protection team. This is all part of a vast scenario, and it's a desperation move in a lot of ways to push towards, the centrally planned cashless society, restrict our free will more, cause order out of chaos, cause people to be divided, attack each other, people to be further impoverished, and there's so many impoverished people right now, and we can blame inflation, and we can blame government programs, and we can blame regulations and taxation and the slave farm that we live on under the organized crime cartel we call governments and banks. And the further in debt we are, the further in servitude we are, so it benefits them to push us into servitude. If they shove us down a bottomless pit of debt, they are forced to ask for a ladder up from the government and the banking system, pushing us into perfect servitude to them, right where they want us. And of course, the divide and conquer agenda combined with that is perfect for them. All fiat currencies eventually revert to their true value of zero. They always have, they always will, going back to 1024 AD in China, and this time won't be any different. They are saying that they won't, raise interest rates anymore, and that everything's all good. Trump is saying lower interest rates would print more money. It's all so ridiculous. It all just leads to the same form of cancer, centralization, collectivism. It's like, pick your cancer, folks. Which kind? Do you want this kind of cancer or that kind? You only have two choices. No, you have choices to rule yourself, protect your purchasing power, and ensure your wealth, and take your own financial stability into your own hands instead of looking at those who create the problem in the first place to fix the problems. A perpetual Hegelian dialectic of problem, reaction, solution, repeat for eternity. So will the interest rates go negative? Of course they have to. Look at past interest rate charts and crises and how far they drop it off. And what was it, just over 5% between 2008 and 2012? Well, we are at such a ridiculously low level right now, and a bigger financial crisis on the horizon. What do you think is going to happen? It's another tax overall. And we've seen what's happened in Japan and in Sweden, and they pushed the centrally planned cashless society, utilizing those negative interest rates as well. There seems to be a correlation, and that means more, dependence on the government, more surveillance, more control of the populace. Everything's taxed, everything's tracked. If your money's in the bank already, as it is, it's not yours, it's the bank's. But if your money's always going through the banks via digital transactions and legal tender laws, by fiat, if you will, it's never your money, it's always the banks, and you are essentially enslaved to the banking system and the government, for that matter, who pushes the legal tender laws and forces you to pay off the interest on the debt via the hand of extortion. So my point is, housing bubbles are bursting, pension bubbles are bursting, student loan bubbles, baby boomers are dying off, but they're the biggest spenders into the economy, but they're also vastly in debt, and then the millennial generation is dependent on them, also heavily in debt, and children are being indoctrinated in indoctrination camps we call public schools to accept the realities and not actually learn what's actually happening, but simply be indoctrinated into being dependent and beg the government for things and handouts, and to save them from the same things that the government creates in the first place, a culture of dependency, if you will, and weakness and stupidity. IQs dropping like a rock. My point is, this is all a combined effort by the state to make us dependent and stupid and make us more easily able to be sacrificed as pawns for the king and the queen, which is always something that they plan. The government doesn't do anything they don't personally benefit from. They cannot give you freedom, they can only take it away. So every time the government does anything and every time the banking system does anything, there's a reason for it, there's a script at play, and I honestly think there's a lot of optimism out of this as well. From the perspective of an individual, what you can do to protect your wealth and ensure your wealth. Gold and silver, not advice, just obviously my opinion. So don't take it as investment advice. But gold and silver aren't meant as investments anyway. Overall, they're wealth insurance as they happen throughout history. And then of course diversification of wealth and looking at things like cryptocurrencies that have fundamental value that are properly decentralized. The privacy-oriented ones are the best. Just disobey, rule yourself, be responsible, break free from that system. Don't depend on that system to save you from that system, because you're going to have a bad time. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. Until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
Like what you see here, OM? Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so heavily demonetized and censored by YouTube as these guys come in and flag all of our content as hate speech. The shadow banning is getting really bad, guys. Also, check our Bitcoin address right here on the screen or in the description below. We really appreciate it. And of course, check us out at the Red Pill Expo 2019. Of course, the great G. Edward Griffin and so many other incredible speakers will be there. Our link for that is below as well. And we cannot forget Mike Maloney's goldsilver.com, which you can also find in the description. One of the greatest market and monetary historians out there. We really encourage everyone to check that out. But until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.